Hey everybody, how you doing? Doug Barry here. I appreciate you being with me. We have another update, another video. We want to encourage you to take every step possible to be better prepared, body, mind, and soul, especially in the times that we're living in. You know, just recently we've been seeing a lot cyber attack information and scenarios unfolding in our country. Let's go back real quick refresher. FBI comes out several weeks ago and says to, I believe, a congressional hearing, that we have multiple points, they say, of evidence that are pointing to Russia, China, Iran actually involved in cyber warfare in the United States. Now, this goes for people all over the world. Let's not just focus on the US, but that's where I live, here in Texas. And they found direct evidence in these different situations where they had planted malware, it looked like, in many of critical infrastructure systems, okay, water treatment plants, power grid, communications, and so forth. Now, we hear these reports and a lot of people kind of toss it off. Now, I want to address something key here before we get started, and that is attitude that people have regarding cyber warfare and what could come and what is actually unfolding before us right now. I also want to encourage you to go on out and click in the link in the description below, go on out and get our free EDC download. All right, this is a very important piece to help you and help as many people as possible be better prepared, body, mind, soul. It's a free download. Go on out, click the link in the description, check it out. It's going to be helpful. It's going to get you on the right track in kind of thinking differently about things, or encourage you if you're already doing that. And maybe there's some pieces in your preparation, arrangement that aren't quite where they need to be yet. So we want to encourage you, get that download, that free EDC download. EDC stands for Everyday Carry, and it gets us in the mindset of how we live every day of our lives in case something happens and catches us completely off guard. Go out to brcoalition.com. You see that at the bottom of the screen there. That's going to help direct you there, but the link is in the description below, okay? Please do that. And share it with other people, all right? Short videos like this are great ways to get information out to other people. There are people that are, afraid to really be open about, that they feel they need to be preparing. They don't want to talk too much about it because people think they're crazy. Conspiracy theory. You're nuts if you're storing up food and water and actually thinking that there might be something that happens in our world and that you want to be better prepared for it. Some people are going to think you're crazy on that. You know what? All right, share this information with them. You never know who you're going to reach and who you're going to help with this. Okay, now let's get back to what's going on. We had the FBI come out, again, as I mentioned, several weeks ago and warn us, telling the Congress that as they put their budget together, they need to put money in place for cybersecurity. Now, Christopher Wray, who is the head of the FBI, made this point very clear. China, for example, is working full-time, overtime on cyber warfare. Now, I'm sure the U.S. is involved in this to a degree also, but he makes very clear that for every one cyber warfare expert in the FBI, there are 50 in China. So that's 50 to 1. All right, so that gives you an idea of the magnitude of what a foreign country like China is doing to try to engage in this type of warfare. Now, is this serious for us? Do we just leave this to the officials and the higher ups to take care of these things and protect us? Not smart. Yes, there are things that only they can do that are out of our general control. We know that. Like, I cannot go into some cyber warfare arena that the federal government is involved in and in any way deal with what needs to be dealt with. But I don't even trust entirely the government when it comes to these things. So what should I be doing for myself and those that God has entrusted to my care? I need to take it upon myself to make sure that I am doing what I can to be better prepared. Now, fast forward, this happens again. Christopher Wray is talking about, head of the FBI, talking about the cyber warfare threats. And then we get, just recently, about a week and a half or so ago, 2 weeks or so, AT&T. AT&T outage was a big wake-up call for many people, but a lot of people have already forgotten it. Right, we had cell towers down, cell signal was down, phones weren't working. It affected a lot of people. It affected all kinds of businesses. It affected even 911 calls were down in different areas. We see how quickly our entire communication infrastructure can go down and the damage it can cause on large scale. In addition to that, United Healthcare, a branch of United Healthcare, Change Health, which is the billing and pharmaceutical medication dispersal department, is still trying to recover from a ransomware attack. It is said that they paid out an estimated $22 million in basically hostage money due to ransomware. And they're still struggling. An article, in fact, that came up just in the last couple of days from NBC News. Not a huge fan of NBC, but we're going to quote it anyway here. Patients struggle to get life-saving medication after cyber attack on a major healthcare company. The attack on Change Healthcare has upended the lives and work of patients, doctors, and pharmacists because of outages in systems used for medical billing and insurance claims. It goes on to say that desperate patients around the country have been forced to choose between paying out of pocket for essential medications or foregoing them entirely as the aftermath of a cyber attack on this major healthcare company stretches into its third week. So this isn't over. And this is one particular attack that affected, I think one report that I read, up to 70,000 pharmacies across the country. This is very serious when we think about how entire disruption of a very important system that we function off of as a society can be disrupted and torn down by a cyber attack. Imagine if that was a power grid. Imagine if the grid had gone down somewhere, and this is not doom and gloom talk, this is reality because they have found Chinese, Iran, Russian malware in, and this is again the report from the FBI, in our critical infrastructure, water treatment plants, and even power grid. In certain areas, like down in Texas, where I am, there was a company down here that had at least reported it, the water treatment plant in Western Pennsylvania that was very open about the fact that they had found malware in their system. What is malware? In general, what we're talking about is when the cybersecurity is broken and an enemy gets in there. Now, the company might not even know that an enemy has gotten into their cyber security system, into their computers, basically. And so the enemy can go in and leave basically bombs, if you want to call it that, cyber bombs, that when they're ready to detonate, they can do it. So those could already be in many of the systems that are out there. Now, these are reports that are coming from the experts in cyber warfare. They are saying publicly, yeah, this stuff is most likely already in. We don't even know how many places they have gotten through when it comes to the enemy getting into our cyber system. Critical infrastructure. So if the power grid were to go down, let's say we're in the third week, just as I read here about Change Health being in its third week, trying to recover. What if that was a grid situation and we were still in the throes of dealing with the fallout of a grid going down, and then internet and lights and whatever electrical systems your home depends on, you need that power coming in. So what then do we do when we hear about these things? The AT&T situation showed us what communication problems can lead to. People couldn't even check in online, which that's some people when they book a flight. When I fly, I like to get a paper boarding pass. Yeah, it's old school, I've done the phone, but I like the paper pass. But you know what? If systems are down at an airport, all flights could be done anyway. If gas stations go down, do we have gasoline in the gas tank? If medical systems go down at hospitals or emergency care, do we have any idea what we would do medically if there's a serious problem and we can't just rush to the hospital? But a child gets hurt, or someone falls, breaks their leg, and so forth. You can imagine a number of scenarios. So we have to look at the different critical infrastructure pieces that our society needs to survive. Natural gas, gasoline stations, power grid, banking system. If the banking system went down, and just like Change Health is in its third week of recovery, what if the banks were in their third week of recovery? What would that do to us financially? What would that do to us if we couldn't access the money in our bank? Because most of it is basically just numbers on a computer screen. Most people don't have a lot of cash out of the bank. Some have gold and silver, but how do you make the transaction with gold and silver when you have to buy gasoline or bread and milk? So you follow me on this? We need to be ready. We need to be thinking about it differently first and foremost, though. This EDC checklist that we offer to you, free download, EDC checklist. You download this, it's going to give you a very detailed outline of different things to be thinking about. And it's really a starting point. Right? There's so much more that can come from that, and we'll offer more in future videos. But we want to give you that starting point so that you can go through that checklist and start thinking, okay, for example, do I have extra cash on hand? There's a great story in the EDC checklist you can read about an individual who got into a natural disaster scenario, didn't have any cash at a gas station. All right. So check it out, read that story, and it will change the way you think when it comes to going out and about and having extra cash on you. Everybody likes to use the debit card. Everybody wants simplicity. Everybody wants convenience. Practicing the EDC, the everyday carry, is really a process of responsibility to actually take the time to make sure that we're thinking about what we have on our person at any given moment. That's really what everyday carry means. So when we have situations, as I've pointed out, FBI has warned us, AT&T, we have problems with that. That goes down. Then we have United Healthcare system of Change Health, and all the pharmacies that have been impacted are still struggling with that. And then just a couple of days ago, what happened? What did we hear about? We have a report here from CNN. This came out Tuesday, March 5th. Facebook and Instagram outages, widespread disruption. So even Facebook and Instagram were down for a while. Now, they say they corrected it within a couple of hours, but Meta's platform, okay, we're talking Facebook, including Facebook and Instagram, went down for thousands of users on Tuesday because of what the company called a technical issue, quote unquote. That is actually what they listed as. Like AT&T's technical issue that they had when they had this upgrade to their system. The outage was resolved within around 2 hours. As many as 500,000 Facebook users had reported issues logging in or accessing the site as of mid-morning Eastern time on Tuesday. Around 50,000 outage reports had been issued regarding Instagram and another 10,000 for Facebook Messenger. Although the number of reports, basically, you're not going to get accurate. If I have an outage, I normally don't report it. So what we're saying here is we've seen it in the communications. We've seen it in the medical field through pharmacies and billing and problems there. People not getting their medication. Some people not being able to afford it because they can't deal with the insurance companies. And then we get Facebook and Instagram going down. These are constant reminders. Now, if they're all just coincidental technical issues that are happening at around the same time of each other, AT&T, phone, communications, right? United Healthcare, Change Health, pharmacies, problems there. And now Facebook, Instagram, all about the same time period within a couple of weeks of each other, a few weeks of each other. Right after the FBI comes out and says, we have red flags and blinking lights greater than before 9/11, pointing to the deep concern. Now, reference a previous video that I put out about the sheriff of Butler County in Ohio, Sheriff Richard Jones, who came out, gave a press conference after he met with Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, and other federal agencies, and warned people that we need to be better prepared. So the evidence is there. The warning signs are there. Now, before I wrap this up, let's hit this one key point. The attitude that we have and the attitude that others have about being better prepared. Some people don't want to do it because they think, it's never going to happen. It's that normalcy bias. We're just locked into this. Everything's going to be fine in my little world, even though we see all these examples. And there are many more we could get into. And we'll touch on in the future as to why we should be better prepared. But people get that normalcy bias. Never going to happen to me. Everything's fine. Then you get the people out there, we're just going to trust Jesus. And Jesus wouldn't want us to have to worry about taking extra steps to be self-sufficient. Never been the case in 2,000 years of Christianity. There's always been that attitude of self-reliance, trusting in God, but taking the steps that God calls us to take to make sure that we're prepared, such as food, water, shelter, medical defense, and so forth. These are things that God has always asked us to do for one another. It's called the corporal works of mercy, right? And scripture to back that up as well. In addition to that, though, we have people out there who simply fall into this, it's all conspiracy theory, even though we've seen, as I've just pointed out, multiple examples of technical issues that have happened in a matter of just a few weeks at a time when we've been warned by federal agencies that technical issues, in other words, cyber warfare, could happen and is happening in our country and throughout other parts of the world. So still people will say, it's just conspiracy. Don't know what it's going to take for some of them to kind of wake up to this. But what will you and I do? If you go out to, again, get this free download EDC checklist, what this will do is it'll start changing the way we think. What do you have on your person at any given moment that if the power goes out and you're in the middle of a grocery store, gas station, you can't get gas anymore for some reason, you can't have access to an ATM or your bank, your debit card's not working, if everything stops in one way, shape, or form, maybe just one of those or all of them at once, what do you have on your person that you carry every day, EBC, or have in your vehicle, like a bug-out bag, some of these types of things, which other checklists we have out there, but starting at the very, very basic point of everyday carry on your person to help you get through that moment. And not just you, but others that God has entrusted to your care. So again, it's an attitude adjustment that we start thinking about how we're going to prepare by carrying on our person at any given moment certain things. I use the example a lot. I don't go anywhere. My family knows this. My friends know this without a flashlight in my pocket. That's one of the things that I carry every day, all the time. No matter when the lights would go out, I've got a flashlight. That's one of many other pieces that I have. But the reason I really want to encourage you to go out, get that free download, that EDC free download, is it will help you and those that you interact with be better prepared. It's got to start somewhere. We see enough red flags in the world right now. It's got to start with each of us making that decision. I'm going to be better prepared, more self-reliant, trusting in God in everything, yes, but then acting upon the things that I know He would want me to. Just like every day I have to act on things to take care of the basics that I and those entrusted to me need. Why would I not want to be prepared if there's a crisis? Because that's when you can see an entire society be thrown into a tailspin of worry and desperation and worse. One last news I wasn't planning on bringing up, but I'm going to bring this up. News story here. The governor of Louisiana is declaring a state of emergency for the state of Louisiana over police shortages. And therefore, they're now legalizing constitutional carry. I think 28 states now are doing that. They're doing this in part in Louisiana because of police shortages. Consider what happens. You get a grid down, you get crazy chaos in society. You don't have enough law enforcement to handle it. Each and every one of us is going to have to be a lot smarter and a lot better prepared to handle even that aspect of a societal breakdown in some way. All right, so point of hope, God is watching over all of us. So let's cling to Him, but let's also act, and let's be that instrument in God's hand to bring peace and hope and order to everyone around us. All right. Don't forget, EDC free checklist, go on out, click on that link, get that download, and let's get moving. Let's move forward, okay? Hope is found when you have a plan of action in the face of any crisis. God bless and strengthen you. I look forward to seeing you all again.